Do you know what, bro? I was thinking, I'm a failure, man.
I agree, but tell me why.
Tell me I ain't nothing but
Well, first of all, you forgot. You failed to tell me why you're a failure. So, go on. Let us know.
So I think I've achieved a lot of things in my life, but there were so many things that I thought I'd have done or have set in place by now, which have just not ended up working out. And sometimes, even though I've achieved a lot in my life, like I got a degree in engineering, I've gone to the gym, I've built a great physique, etc., etc.
Yeah, lived in
Even
Handsworth. That's an achievement in itself.
survived cancer.
Survived Handsworth.
But of all those accolades, I still feel like the key things are missing in my life, like, you know, relationships, love, having a house, having a stable career, etc., etc.
Yeah,
Do you feel the same way? Oh, we're young guys and we're building ourselves,
yeah.
but at this moment in time, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm the same. To be fair, like by the age of 24, well, I'm 24, you're 23. We've achieved loads, as you said, like survived Handsworth, survived West Brom, survived Phoenix, and yeah, it's like obviously house is like a big thing that everyone strives to own their own property to begin with. So that's still on the agenda. I mean, I don't even have a car yet. I've moved like every single year to a brand new house, a brand new like rented property every single year. Like can't even stay in one property for like longer than a year. So I do feel the same way as you. I think at our age, maybe all the BFs that are our age will agree to that actually. If we ask people, do you feel like you've accomplished a significant amount of things? I think we can also relate because obviously you and I were both also like kind of me more, but like we're gamers, isn't it? Like you played games, I've played games, and in games like you have the leveling system normally. So in real life right now, it doesn't feel like we've actually achieved like set things. It feels like we've done things here and there, but the word I'm looking for actually, see, this is what happens when you speak multiple languages. You forget the actual word you're looking for. Milestones. It doesn't feel like we've hit enough significant milestones in life.
Yeah, and that sorry to clear my throat. I think the milestones are the same for everyone, but the tasks and the way you go about achieving them will be different for everyone. So imagine we both want to buy a house at some point, right?
Yeah.
If I want to buy a 10-bedroom house and you want to buy a 2-bedroom house, your milestone it obviously depends on what the quality of the house is, but your milestone should theoretically be a bit more achievable than mine, or like more achievable on a realistic timescale than mine. But we both want to own a house, right? So everyone has their own journey, their own timeline, and I feel like the relationship that we have with these things is very black and white. Like in school, I always used to think that, okay, I hated English in school. I just hated writing so much. And I was like, you know what? When we finish GCSEs, yeah, we're going back that far. When we finish GCSEs and I do A-level maths, physics and biology, I won't have to do English anymore. I won't have to do history anymore. I won't have to learn Spanish anymore. I'll be happy then because that will be behind me. And then when A-levels came around, then it's like, oh, because I didn't really like biology, was probably my least favorite subject. And I was like, oh, when I finish my A-levels, when I finish biology, I won't have to look at biology again, then I'll be happy. And then uni came around, and then when I was thinking, oh, when I finish my, when I get my dissertation done, then I'll be happy. And then even then, it just carried on so much I was like, when I get a job, I'll be happy. Then I got a job. Then I was thinking, oh, when I get this level of pay, then I'm happy. Or then when I get married, I'll be happy. And then, after that, when I have kids, I'll be happy. And then you just end up putting it off so much, you forget that being in the moment, being present, the love and support that you have around you, the relationships that you have, these things aren't quantifiable. It's very easy to look at how much money you have in your bank and be happy or depressed. But when you have relationships, when you look at some people don't have parents, bro. Like, some people were orphans growing up. Like, we would never understand because we've had our parents growing up. Like, you've had your mom, I've had my mom. I've had siblings growing up. There's lots of negatives about having siblings and stuff like that, but there are lots of positives to having siblings too. You've grown up an only child. You've not had siblings, so this is where, like, comparison, when you compare people's lives, you compare where you are, you compare where I am, you compare where someone else is. They always say comparison is the thief of joy, right? And it is so true, because you could be comparing your chapter 5 to someone else's chapter 30 and not even realize.
And let us compare this episode to a previous episode where, in this episode, guess what we failed at already? We failed to do an intro. So welcome back to 2BFT, guys. After a 2-minute rant.
I think you were just waiting for that. Howard was waiting for me to stop yapping so we could get on with the intro. But now that that's out of the way, let's get into the episode, bro.
Yeah. So I think we both know what the episode is about now. It's talking about failure and measures of success, milestones, and how subjective it all is for everyone. And you've touched upon a lot of things already, Rav, which I would agree with. And also, one thing I wanted to go in depth about was the fact that you mentioned that comparison is a thief of joy. And I was just thinking while you were speaking about how you were growing up, you thought, once I've done this, I've finished with English, I'll be happier. Then the next thing was, okay, once I've done this, I'll be happier. I think it's also true on the contrary. So growing up, I thought so going back to GCSEs for me as well. So let's say when I had like an exam, I got 80%. I was like, okay, I'm happy, but let's get higher next time. Then I got 90. I even got 100% in some of my tests. Then I was like, okay, the next thing is to get full UCAS points.
Mm-hmm.
And this kept going on. And I feel like what I did there was put pressure on myself constantly. And it wasn't anything that like my mom put the pressure on me or my family did. I think because of the way I am, I self-governed myself and kept putting that pressure on to make sure I was motivated. But I think it's got to a point now where, and I don't know if you'll agree to this, but when I achieve something now in life, like a significant milestone, like a promotion or a pay rise or something, like the day that I achieved that and it's announced that, okay, you've got this, immediately after, like 5 seconds later, I'll be like, okay, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And I feel like comparison is the thief of joy, which is, I 100% agree with that. But I feel like also not, and what you said earlier, not enjoying the moment, not appreciating what you have achieved so far can also take the joy out of life for you. Like, I don't think growing up now at this age, I feel genuinely deeply happy when I achieve something. What I actually feel is, what's the next step? Where like it's that race in my mind of like, okay, it's just another goal that we've ticked off. Like it's a milestone, I've ticked it off, but let's what's the next one? It's like immediately crossing the bus. It's like crossing the like. For some reason, we've made it to this life at our stage in life where we're always focused on the destination instead of the actual journey. Whereas a lot of older, wiser people will tell us that it's actually the journey that matters. And do you know what I've recently watched, and I really want to play the game myself, going back to the gaming ideology, is there's a game called Black Myth Wukong, It's based off of the Journey to the West, which is a Chinese mythology, which shows you the journey that I'm going to paraphrase a lot of the story now, but it's a monk who is tasked to take the teachings of the Buddha from east to west. So that's why it's to take Journey to the West. Along the journey, there are protectors for the monk who are bodyguards essentially, because obviously when you're taking ideologies like that across east to the west, there's like obviously the story is going to have ups and downs and twists and turns. So one of the bodyguards is a monkey called Sun Wukong. Now a lot of people would have heard of Sun Wukong, quite a famous figure. Loads and loads of animated shows, stories are based off of Sun Wukong because he is the Monkey King. He's the stone monkey. So if you've ever watched the movie The Forbidden Kingdom with Jackie Chan and Jet Li, that's also Sun Wukong. Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, Son Goku is based off of Sun Wukong. For all the extreme nerds out there, Korean manhwas like the God of High School is based off Sun Wukong. And I was watching the game, right? And in the game, you're not going through the Journey to the West. It's a complete... I'm not going to ruin the plot for you because I feel like it is worthy of watching it yourself. But in the game itself, like they take you through the story and make you realize that it was never about the journey itself. Like in the original Journey to the West, when they got to the West, it wasn't about getting to the West. It was about the paths leading to the West. What they experienced, like Sun Wukong is meant to be a Monkey King. He's meant to be like really naughty, doesn't follow rules. He got punished because he attained godhood, but then he was mean to the other gods. He was like not following rules and stuff. But on that journey with that monk, he learned how to actually be in the moment. He attained Buddhahood. That's what the whole Journey to the West is about. We can go deeper into that side of the story, but the point I'm trying to make is that
it is to be fully present.
Yeah, it is prevalent in our society, and it's so toxic. It's a toxic mindset where no one can sit and celebrate their achievements, because if you sit and celebrate your achievements, people look down on you and think, oh wow, you're just celebrating this while that guy over there has a Ferrari.
They think you're self-absorbed as well when you celebrate achievements. You know, I posted a video the other day talking about this exact topic. I was like, I don't think in terms of fitness, having a great physique is what brings you the satisfaction. What actually brings you the satisfaction is knowing that in your heart that you were a person that was disciplined enough to have a good diet for an extended period of time, go to the gym every day, make the sacrifices necessary, and that is about becoming the person worthy of having a great physique on the journey. Because having a great physique is that's just a snapshot. Like when you take a picture of you looking good, yeah, it looks good. Obviously you got muscles, but it has the value because people know that is difficult to obtain. It requires discipline. It requires sacrifice. The satisfaction comes from showing that I'm the kind of person who was able to achieve that. And that's kind of, that satisfaction is focused on who you've become on the journey, not so much the destination. So someone was in the comments, and to be honest, I still have no idea what they're trying to say, but they said like, oh, self-improvement more like self-absorbed. So even if I'm celebrating my achievement, that look, I was skinny as a kid and then I've gotten to this place, and as soon as you celebrate, you get knocked down, oh, he's self-absorbed, or he just only cares about himself and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of rooted in society in a way to not celebrate your achievements, because you kind of get shut down sometimes. You see it all over. Even a guy posts a video in a Ferrari, I guarantee you someone's going to be hating like, oh, it's probably daddy's money, or like, oh, he's probably scammed and cheated to get there, or he's probably sold drugs or something, so the focus, especially in the social media age, is a lot on the successes and the material, and it brings you away from, like you said, being on the journey, being present, focusing on who you're becoming through the journey. It's like when you let's take games for example again. When I was playing a game called God of War, is basically one of those games where it's like hack and slash, where you defeat enemies and you can buy better armor and upgrades for your weapons. When you get to the end game and you beat all the Valkyries, right? I had the Zeus armor, like the best armor in the game, and all the best weapons and everything. And then I was thinking, you know what? What's the point? Because I've got all the best armor, I had the upgrades and everything, but now there's nothing to do. Like, I've defeated everyone.
Exactly.
And now you're just walking around the kingdom. Like, you've got the best armor and everything, but you're just walking around and there's nothing left to do. And I realized in that time that I was so motivated to get to that point because of what it took. It took hours of gameplay, learning like the attacks and the combos and dodging and everything. And that who I was becoming, the great gamer I had to be to get to that point. That's where the satisfaction was coming from, because when I actually had the thing that I originally wanted, like the end goal to have the best armor and everything.
Because you finished?
Because I finished.
Yeah.
So
it ended?
Yeah, it ended.
The greatness, the satisfaction ended at that point. The journey is the end. And there's a great analogy that I always think about, and I think I mentioned it to you before as well. It's if you get a graduate, someone who's graduated recently from uni, you give them a responsibility such as, let's say, let's pick a company, let's say Facebook. You make them the CEO of Facebook. What's going to happen? Let's just say that's a person, that's a graduate who wanted to be the CEO of Facebook. Let's say they graduated. They didn't go through any of the hardships or the experience. That you make them the CEO of Facebook right now.
They're not going to have a clue.
They're not going to have a clue what to do. More than likely, they'll crash and burn, right? Or they'll have to go through the same experience of learning how to get to the level while being at that level and possibly tanking the company because they have no way of making those decisions. They have no experience. So I think we need to take a page out of that book. Actually, like me personally, I'm just thinking about it deeply now.
He said it right, guys. Take a book out of a page.
I need to take a book out of that page, and that, like, I have goals for myself. My mom, like, I want to make my parents proud. I want to make my mom proud. I want to make you proud. I want to, like, all these things. But the fact is, the person, the Harman that's going to do that is going to be the Harman that is going on that journey, not the one that's got to the end. Because when I'm going through that journey, I will grow as a person. I will grow into the person that I want to be. Not the fact that I become that person immediately. It's the growth that gives the most satisfaction to anything. So, while we're on the topic of growth, I think we should speak about certain aspects of the...
What you're trying to say is that rooted in those statements is the notion that failure is linked to growth.
Yeah.
That you can't... what Harman's trying to say is that you can't have the growth and all these things that you want without going through those failures.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a business owner, you're going to have to go through all the trials and tribulations that previous business owners went through to become business owners.
Yeah. And what, as I was just saying earlier, is while we're on the topic of growth as well, look at how far our communities have grown, right? Linking it back to 2BFT, right? 2 brown, 2 British for this. If you go back 200 years, right? Do you think we would even have had these dreams living in this country? No, we wouldn't probably be in this country. Even India itself, like, I don't know my dates. I'm really bad at, like you said, you hated history. I hated history. I hated geography. I hated all the social studies. So don't quote me on this. That one guy's going to be like, no, he got the date wrong, bro. But going back 200 years, let's say, during colonization periods and all these other things, back then our dreams would have been different if we lived in that age. So look at the growth around us as well. Look at where society is.
I think at that point as well, in the 1800s, people didn't even live past like 40, something like that. Like the life expectancy, it's only in the past like 100 years the life expectancy has gone up so much, like with healthcare and stuff like that. Back then, okay, don't quote me on this, but like the life expectancy was way less back then. I think people didn't make it past 40s or 50s. Like if you died like a 50-year-old person,
That's like
that
old.
was considered old. But like
Yeah.
if someone like dies a 50-year-old person today, they'll be like, oh, that's so young.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you could have lived till 80 or 90. But
Yeah, because we've had like vaccines develop, we've had other like clean water supplies, um, systems set in place, etc. I see where you're coming from, and the point I'm trying to make with that growth is we're currently talking about personal growth, but there's also society's growth as well. Look at how many opportunities there are for people of color now, minorities. Look at how much awareness there is about these things. Like if you go to a random person and say, look, do you know anything about racism? Guess what? Yes, they will. Because it is widely talked about. These things, these topics are talked about. So we have societal growth, which comes down from the social aspect. If you want to look at political growth, we also have that. There's economic growth. There is growth in every single aspect of our life that we're currently living in. Now, the worst kind of growth is also inflation, because there's price growth everywhere. Cost of living killing me off. That's the bad kind of growth. We don't stand that type of growth.
And bro spent 50 quid in what's it called, Tesco. Got 2 bags worth of stuff.
Yeah, £50, 2 bags worth of stuff, and my fridge is still empty. There's nothing in my fridge. Like, where did that £50 go? Like, and I think, do you know what? So I've moved into this new place, and the fridge is much bigger, right? And I'm still spending around the same money going to get groceries. But why does it feel like there's nothing in the fridge? The fridge is bigger, and it's harder to fill now. I think that growth is kind of hurting me, because like, when you open your fridge at your parents' house and it's always full, like, I always like, that's another thing I want to say, like, learning to live in the moment. I am so appreciative of if I go to my mom's place and I open their fridge and it's full of food and things. I don't know why. It like, and maybe a younger Harman wouldn't have appreciated this, but it fills my heart with a lot of calmness, and it feels nice to know that my parents are doing well. They're doing well in this cost of living, because even for them, it's the first time doing everything right. So it makes my heart feel nicer that they're not struggling, they're okay. Oh, obviously the cost of living is affecting everyone. They are struggling. Before, maybe they would have had to spend less money. Now they're spending double the amount. But as younger guys, we are like, I enjoy it. I always tell my mom this, like, I enjoy the failures. I enjoy struggling. And I think that's because in our lives, we will do that until we get to a stable point. And that's the journey, right? You need to struggle and go through these things and learn to be a better, let me finish my point. Learn to be a better person. I notice in some podcasts, I fail. It's all about failure. I fail to finish my point and I move on too quickly. It's like,
that makes both of us.
It's like, oh, see, that's growth right there. It's like, remember when we went to McDonald's before, and we were speaking about how we appreciate that we've had like the busy jobs like McDonald's. I worked at a fish chip shop. You work in a shop. We appreciate that, because if we never had those, maybe we would have acted very spoilt and arrogant, because we wouldn't have had to go through that struggle of serving people, listening to their BS, customers always right, and people being annoying.
Yeah. And one point I'd like to address that you were talking about, I think a few minutes ago, you did some mad yapping, bro.
That's growth, isn't it?
You were saying to your mum that you enjoy the failures and you enjoy the struggle. And I think that, relating it back to 2BFT again, I think South Asians in general, I think this is where I'd like to see some growth in the way South Asians in general typically look at failure. You're told as a kid it's like the end of the world if you failed something in school. We as a society, sorry, not as a society, as an ethnic minority, Indians are the richest minority in America. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And like in most countries, again, don't quote me on that. One guy in the comments be like, "Oh, in Uganda, and the Indians aren't the richest,"
I
but
think they might be the richest here as well.
they might be the richest. Yeah, I don't want to.
I think
Again, don't quote me on that.
I've read it somewhere last week. I
Yeah.
think someone was talking about like, oh, we're the richest minority.
But I think you might look at that as a good thing. But the way I see it was that growing up, we were all so scared of failure. I was like, not scared, but like I didn't want to go home and tell my mom that like I got a B in this test rather than like an A or an A star or whatever. Like it's got to be minimum an A in it. Do you know what I mean, bro?
While you're on that point, hold your thought. I want you to continue. I was just gonna add to that. Why was B a failure for us as well? Like, did you ever think like we always thought, oh, if you don't get A or A star, it's a failure.
Yeah, literally. F is failure.
Like for other people, D was like, oh yeah, I passed.
Yeah.
But like for us, for Asians especially, like South Asians, our standards are so high as well. Continue, point.
And I think because those standards were so high, we wanted to show to our parents that like we're not failures. So we went out and did all these things and built all these businesses and everything. And loads of Indians, some of them treat it like a flex. Like, have you ever seen some Indian uncles talking about, oh, you know, do dokda, and then the other uncle, you know, talks about, oh, my back hurts more, my feet hurt as well, and then next thing you know, he's talking about, oh, my head hurts, bro, I've just had a diabetes diagnosis, or the doctor said I'm drinking too much. I'm just like, bro, why are you guys, you guys are comparing how bad your life is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Bro, just let's not talk about that. Anyways, I was just gonna add to that with when I used to work at the chip shop. I used to say things like, oh, you know what, I'm really tired. They're like, oh, kids these days, you're tired. I work 75 hours. I'm thinking like, is that something to be proud about?
Why is that a good thing, bro?
Yeah, like why is that a good thing? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Or when we did the skit of like, oh, our parents used to walk through mountains and like, isn't it a good thing that we have lesser struggles than you? Like, we still have them. But
you will tell someone about your struggle and they will try and one up
that struggle
with something worse.
Yeah.
And it's like why do that? Like, why have or even when you say a success, you'll be like, you know, you might say to someone, I got a promotion, and then someone will be like, yeah, you know, like at my job I got this and I got this benefit and stuff like, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I'm just telling you what I've done,
what
right?
about me? Yeah.
And I think this, like, the way South Asians view failures in general is to kind of, it comes from a good place, right? I think most things, 99% of things South Asian parents do comes from a good place, and they always mean well, as in, you know, they don't want you to struggle through life, so they want you to have a good education and they want you to have the good grades so you can get into a good university, etc., right? But I think the way they go about it is so wrong. Like, you can talk about how to positively reach success rather than negatively avoid failures, because we just spoke about this. The success requires you to go through so many of those failures. If you go through life being so scared of failure, you won't want to fail at things, and because you won't want to fail at things, it will directly stop you from succeeding. So it kind of creates like a self-refuting prophecy where you want to succeed so bad that you don't want to fail, but then you don't want to fail so bad that you won't succeed.
I will counter that earlier point, actually, when you said it comes from a good place. All of it does. Not everything does come from a good place, Rav. The reason I say that is, yes, parents will mean well, right? All our elders and people that are wise mean well. However, because we're growing, times are changing, society's growing, South Asians also fail to realize that their elders and wise people can also fail, because it's considered that if you're older, you're just always right. No matter what you say, it's gospel.
Yeah.
Because what do the younger people say? Listen to your elders, they mean well. However, not every time will they know everything, and you can't expect them to. That's something our society is growing into now, because guess what? I used to think that. I used to think like, you know, my parents, they'll never be wrong. However, with growth comes understanding that they are also human. They can be wrong. And it's not, I'm not saying it in the sense of you have to prove to your parents you're right and they're wrong. I'm saying in the sense of, if your parents have made a mistake or they're mistaken or they're wrong, someone who has a growth mindset, like for example, I use my example from my mom. My mom, like the conversations that we have, my mom has no shame in admitting when she's wrong, and I respect that so much about her, because when I correct her with things, when I say like, mom, now, like let's say now in this day and age, that's like if she said something that she didn't really know about, and I say like, okay mom, that wasn't the way you should have said it, this is the way you should say it, this is more like understanding of people, or this could be the reason why this is happening. She's like, oh wow, I didn't know that, like thank you. And my mom learns from me as much as I learn from her, and that is much more respectable for my opinion, than someone who's like an Asian uncle that always thinks he's always right just because he's older.
And that's one thing that I'd like to talk about, my own experience that I had with that literally yesterday.
Yeah.
If we ever had friends that were coming over, okay, what does my mom make when I come here? What do I bring with me every week?
Tea, chai.
A flask of jar,
Yeah.
because my mom's like, oh, you're going to Harman's, make sure you give him jar, take some food, take some chicken and jawle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Thank
when
you,
I say when I say like my friends are coming over or something like that, she'll go out of the way, go in the kitchen and clean the whole house and do all of that stuff. And I said, mom, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
There's no need to do so much. And then my mom's like, no, like it has to be clean, there has to be food prepared and stuff. And I was like, no, that's like your thinking. And do you know what's funny? My mom's been taking care of my nanny this week, right?
Yeah.
Nanny's my nan for
the British side.
Yeah, for the British side. And we've got some relatives coming from Northampton, and literally my nan said to my mom, like, because she's not feeling well right now, she's like, oh, go in the kitchen, cook and clean and start making this stuff for them to come. And my mom's like, no, you don't need to be doing all of that. Like, I'm taking care of you. And it and it's literally the same thing that what I said to my mom is exactly
the cycle repeats.
And I was saying to my mom, oh, doesn't that sound familiar? And I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying now. And I was like, that's where you get it from.
Yeah.
But then that's a funny moment that I shared with my mom, that understanding is there. All South Asian parents, you guys are so adaptable. Bro, they look at the UK in the 70s and 80s compared to now. Look at how much adapting there was. The internet came about. Bro, these guys lived without the internet. Imagine when the internet took over everything.
It's not just South Asians, obviously. It's all the peoples have it. Essentially, I agree with what you're saying. It's everyone that is successful is adaptable. Even if you don't think you're successful, that's, as I said earlier in the start of the episode, it's subjective. You need to take a moment in present time and think to yourself, look, for example, let's say our moms, they might think they're not successful, or they might think they are. However, if they take a moment in time and think, wow, we've raised our kids, right? Our kids are doing well. We've done all these milestones. Take a moment. See how successful you actually are, because you've been adaptable. And it is a shame if you're not adaptable, you get left behind. It's literally the one true thing in the universe. It's natural selection.
Do you know what? Here's one thing I'd like to talk about as well. I think as you go older and wiser, your definition of success changes over time too. Like, if you were to talk to 18-year-old me, I would have not cared about anything other than money. That was the one thing I was just dead focused on. I worked all the hours that God gave me. I was working. I was at uni. I was studying. I said no to like every motive, every link up.
Yeah.
I pretty much said no to everything.
Yeah.
Just chasing the work and the success and the money. And fast forward, 5 years later, I've been doing that for 5 years. And do you know what? I always thought I was a failure because I was working so much, and because I'm not a millionaire yet or a billionaire or whatever I thought success was to be materialistically. I failed to see, I had love and support all around me. When I was going to the shop, I've always had a flask of jar with me. It's not just here. Like, I always have it. I always have, you know, obviously that's because I love jar, and obviously if you don't love jar, then you're not gonna care if there's a flask of tea or not. But I've always had food. I've always had, you know, my clothes done. All of these things, I completely lost sight of. I lost sight of the love and support around me, the relationships, the friendships, everything, and that's what was making me successful. That's the reason why I was able to do all of that work and become that person. When I look back at my life, like, I'm a guy that can work super hard, man. I can sacrifice, I can be disciplined. I've proved it all to myself now. My main focus is not even money too much anymore. Obviously, I still want to get better in my career and make more money, etc., etc., and become financially stable and financially free. I think that's everyone's goal. You know, it's safe to say. But the focus now is more on like love and relationships and the way I treat others around me, and not only what I think of myself, but like what they think of me too. Bro, I've always been loved by everyone. Like, I don't think there's one person on this planet who hates me, apart from that one guy in the comments who just hates us, you know. But
Yeah, there was a guy in your comments that hated you in that video you posted. That he hated you.
yeah,
He was like,
he hated me, but he added like 20 comments to my video, so thank you, bro. Thanks a lot. So if you're a person genuinely who has love and support around you, you have a good network, not necessarily has to be family members, but you have a network of people who would do things for you, who would make sacrifices. Harman was even saying when he was moving that, like, I just don't like moving too much because I don't like inconveniencing everyone around me. And I just turned back, I was like, you know what, anyone who wants to be in your life will not feel inconvenienced. I'd like, you know, when I ask you to do something, do you feel inconvenienced?
nope.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it might be an inconvenience at that point. Like, you were doing something now and I've asked you to do something, and then you got to put that off till later. But you'd be happy to do it, innit? You know? So if you have that, you have those relationships, you have people around you who would make sacrifices for you, who will help you do things, who will call people for you, sort things out. You've always got someone to call in like any situation. That is a definition of success for me, and that's one thing I've been lucky to have all my life that I never realized up until now. And it took like not having like chasing money so much because of not having it for me to realize that.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm not bothered too much about the money. I mean, a Porsche is nice, a Ferrari is nice, but at this point, like, I'd rather have, you know,
Yeah.
those close relationships. I'd rather have those bonds, because you
Yeah.
can build so many things off of that rather than just the money.
And you just got me thinking, and I just went down a rabbit hole of thought right now, and I'm at the same level as you. However, I think mine's a bit different because I realized I was also chasing money when I was younger, like 16 or something. I started doing like the forex trading, if you remember.
Oh, I remember
with that one guy, and I invested. My parents helped me invest £200 into like forex trading, and I was depressed constantly because I lost like £50 to begin with, and then I made £700 from the forex trading after that, and that I was so happy with that, right? But there was this one single trade that lost me £800 and left me with 150. So I was back to essentially where I started. So it wasn't a loss, but I lost what I had made. But after I lost all that money, you know, like if you torture someone or if you make someone upset, there's a level of it. But there's one point where it's so much to bear that they'd completely shut off. That happened to me. I got so upset with losing that money that it literally reset my brain into thinking, what am I even sad about? Right? I'm going home. I've got my mom with me. I'm eating food with her. I've got friends around me. Okay, I lost that money, but did anyone die?
Did it change your life?
Did it change my life? No.
Yeah.
And I think I got to the same point as you, but just at an earlier age. So I stopped caring only about money and started trying to also worry about other aspects of my life. And that, mixed with what you were just saying, got me into thinking about the point of, do you know what a lot of people do? they are. I don't know if you do it or a lot of people do it. I was gonna make a statement assuming that a lot of people do this because I feel like I used to. They keep themselves in a constant state of failure because if, for example, most people, correct me if I'm wrong, attribute monetary wealth, which is money in your account, to success, right? And if you don't have 100K in your account, then you essentially think you're a failure. You're behind everyone else. However, with what you were just saying earlier and what we've been talking about on this podcast, and when I was mentioning earlier about growth, like there's different types of growth, there's also different types of successes. Because you could be a complete failure when it comes to money. You could be broke. Like with me, like I've just moved and I am skint now because I've just moved. I've just been shopping and stuff. And in that aspect, I am a failure because guess what? I failed to keep my bank account high enough for the whole month. I've like rinsed myself out completely because I had to move because there was situations. It's not because, but that's the thing. Guess what? Yes, I have like almost no money in my account. I'm a failure in that aspect. But guess what? I have a fridge full of some food, right? I've got cleaning products in my kitchen. I've got things in the house. I've got my bills. My bills are all paid. My rent's paid. Everything's paid. So guess what? Am I a failure when it comes to debt? No, because all my rent bills are paid. Then I've got a job, right? I go to every morning, Monday to Friday. I go to work. I've got relationships with people there, friends, family, etc. So I've got a fulfilling job, which I'm progressing in, and I've got people I meet, people I speak to. You come over every Sunday with me. We sit down. We have the privilege to talk into a very expensive microphone on an iPad, recording a podcast. So in that aspect, I'm very successful. Then health-wise, if I go out right now, and I did this the other day in the morning, I've got a park right in front of me. I go out and I do 10 pull-ups. I can do that because guess what? My body is healthy. Okay, I wear glasses. I'm kind of almost blind, but everything else, touch wood, is healthy. Guess what? In that aspect, I'm successful. And people forget. And this is, again, linking in with living in the moment. We can count all our successes. It's that one hymn that I learned when I was in school in India, in my Christian school, is count your blessings, name them one by one. It is true. Even if you're not a Christian, right? Like, you'll still admit to that. Like, guess what? We have food to eat. We have fresh air to breathe. We live in a nice country that has good quality of air, quality food. I've got fruits with me I can eat. Some people don't have that. And I know when people say those things like, oh, there's a kid in Africa that's starving, and people like are tired of hearing that. But if you take a moment to actually reflect on what you have, you are successful in a lot of areas. Guess what? We passed school. We didn't fail a single subject. We're successful in that aspect because there are people that have failed at even certain basic things. Not everything will be their fault. Like, they must have had a hard time with life, so they would have failed in life because of external issues. That's not my point. The point I'm trying to make is that we attribute overall success to monetary value. Like, oh, if I don't own a car, a house, and this and that, I'm a failure. And South Asians do that, I think, quite a lot. But if you do think about it, we are successful in a lot of aspects.
You know, I think we should do a little exercise now for us, and I encourage all our BFs to do this. Let's name 5 successes, 5 ways in which we're successful in life that we're grateful for. So it's not a quiz.
Not a quiz this time. He's happy. Look at him smiling.
Yeah.
You guys will be able to see him smiling soon.
Yeah. And
well, I've just done quite a lot, so I think you should do
5.
yours.
I think 5 things, 5 successes that I have in my life.
And the list isn't exhaustive, right? Like, it's just 5 off the top of your head. I'm not like someone in the comments will be like, oh, he didn't mention having healthy parents. Oh, he hates his parents. No, it's not exhaustive. It's just 5 things off the top of your head.
So, like I said, love and support. All around me. I have so much.
So let's count them. That's 1.
So much love and support around me. 2, my physical status.
Yeah.
I've not got any long-term illnesses, anything like that. There is a thing with my eye.
And we're gonna say Waheguru and touch wood as well while
Yes.
we're on the podcast, so that no one gives us bad nazar.
Yeah. And 3 is the car. I've been blessed with a car, and not even just like driving to Mackey's at 2 a.m. blah blah blah. Like, I've been able to do so much. Like, I've been able to help you move.
You've helped me move like every single time in your car. Like, it's you've helped me go do my groceries. Like, you're helping someone get food. Like,
yeah, and I was able to drive my mom to like so many hospital appointments.
There you go.
And you know, and it's been fun as well. We just blast music and chill.
Yeah.
Like that's been such an invaluable tool in my life. And shelter.
And I was so shelter's number 4, but going back to number 3 really quickly, I was just gonna say, and it's not a Ferrari, right? It's not a Tesla or Ferrari, but to me, to your mom, to you, I wouldn't even look at a Ferrari if it meant that Rav's car's there, because guess what? To me, your car's been more valuable to us than a Ferrari, bro, will ever be. Like that, when we get to that Ferrari level, Ferrari's not going to be taking us to hospitals.
Yeah.
Your little car, that's I said to you the other day, didn't I? Like, we want to keep this car as a memorabilia. We want to store it in a garage.
Bro said he wants to keep the car.
It's gonna be our
And
memory.
then show our kids be like, yo, we were doing mad Getty on this car. But that mad stuff, when we'd go to school and like we'd be able to drive to a place during lunch. Like, remember that, was it Caspian Pizza?
Yeah.
One time we went in the car because it's a gamble, because it takes like 20 minutes to walk there and like 20 minutes to walk back. And if it was busy, then like you wouldn't be able to go in the lunch period, but it would take us like 2 minutes to drive there.
Yeah.
So we'd guaranteed get our food.
Yeah.
You know. So
Shelter
yeah,
was your number 4.
Shelter's number 4. I've always got a bed to sleep in. I can have a shower whenever I want. You know, I've got people in the house that I can speak to. You know, so I'm not on my own.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. And the 5th one, I think the 5th one is my mindset. Like, I've been able to build such a mindset that I don't look at things as good or bad anymore. Like, there are failures, there are bad things that happen, but I've got to a point in my life where mentally I don't suffer from them. So whenever a bad thing happens in your life, you'll have the bad thing happen, and then you'll accept that it happens, and then the mental suffering comes after. You know, when when you had to move and you were stressed out about everything, and you know, all these what if this happens, what if that happens. First of all, half of those things didn't even happen, so there was no reason to be stressed that much.
Yeah.
But then
in retrospect,
but when you look at these things in the present, they can cause so much mental suffering.
Yeah.
Because you analyze all these situations, you think, what's gonna happen if this, and who says this, and she's gonna be like that, and then my mom's gonna say this, and no. The mental suffering part, I've become so much better at managing. It's not perfect, you know. I will still get stressed out about some situations.
Yeah.
You know, but most things that happen, I do not see them as good or bad. I see them as experiences, and like, how is this experience? I wonder how this experience will shape me into the better person to handle having the big life and the things that I want.
Yeah.
If you look at the failures in your life as God's kind of training to build you up into a person who's going to handle the blessings that you'll be given. It's like going back to what you said about if you just make a random person the CEO of Facebook, you know, they're not going to know how to handle it. So God's given you all of this training to build you up into the person that when you get these blessings that you ask for, you can handle them. Because maybe you might want these things so badly, but you might just not be the type of person who can handle it just yet. You still need some lessons. You still need those failures. You still need a bit of wisdom, a bit of experience that's going to make it, that's going to weld everything together to then let you have the blessings. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when you first drive. When you're learning to drive, you don't drive. The instructor doesn't pull up in a Ferrari, does he?
Yeah, because you're gonna crash it.
Because you're gonna crash it. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta drive the slow car first, and then you might drive a Golf, and then you might get an M3,
Yeah.
and then you might get a Porsche, and then you can drive the Ferrari.
You need to earn the status that you want to reach by failing and changing your ways and growing.
Mhm.
Same with our podcast, because guess what? We started the podcast. Everyone wants to succeed at everything, right?
Mhm.
You never want to fail. But guess what? We have failed at a lot of things with the podcast. At the start, we didn't really know what we were doing. We failed at that, right? Each episode was a level of growth for us. And if someone gave us 1 million people listening to our podcast on episode 1, we would have hated it. Guess what? Even
All the comments coming in, we wouldn't know what to do.
and even
You
now,
know.
do you know what? When I recommend the podcast to people, yes, we've got the episode 1, 2, 3, 4 there. I'm not ashamed of those episodes, but I tell them.
You'd rather than watch the
Well,
more
I
recent ones.
ask them to listen to the newer ones first, because that it'll be more entertaining for them immediately. Then, if they think that the podcast is for them, go through the whole thing, see our growth, right? See how we've grown. Because if it's interesting to you, because that's what you do in it. Like when I go watch a YouTuber, I see like a game or something they're playing. You go through all the other videos, you see their catalog, you see what they were doing a year ago. That's what I did with like PewDiePie or Jacksepticeye, etc. I watched their older videos to see how they've grown. So I tell people, listen to the newer podcast, because we've improved so much. It's actually developed into something that we wanted it to, and
I'm proud of this podcast, man.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
yeah, and
Like
that's
I genuinely, I don't care.
and that's the thing. Like
Harman was saying to us like, let's check out analytics, bro, and I was like, I haven't even. The word analytics has not even come in my head for like so long.
yeah,
Even with my fitness page and everything like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need to check because to see if like what content we're posting is in like the viewers are engaging, or we can't just spew out nonsense.
Guess what? We've improved on the actual podcast, but we've failed at engaging, because we've been so busy with our lives recently. You know, we're managing to get the podcast out, but we've been so busy that we haven't been able to engage on a daily basis with people. Which, guess what? That's going to be a point of growth for us. We're going to grow on that. And that's what I mean. If we had 1 million people right now, and they were listening to this podcast right now, and they were all sending us questions and stuff, and we were just too busy. I was moving. You've been busy with certain things. You're going on a trip soon, special trip. I don't know if you want to announce that really quickly.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to India from the 14th of March to the 29th.
Yeah. So,
but don't worry, we've got podcasts scheduled. We've got the content coming.
Yeah.
And then we got a big surprise for everyone once they come back.
We've got all these things, right? And imagine if we had 1 million people messaging us, commenting and things, and we couldn't keep up with it. They'd get upset. And having that volume of people or that success and losing it, I think, is worse than not starting off with it and making your way to it. Because guess what? If you're making your way to it, you're gonna do things in a certain way. You're gonna set processes in place where you can handle that. Whereas if you're just given it, you're gonna lose people and then learn how to handle it. But then once you've lost people and you've learned how to handle it, then you're gonna have to rebuild it again. It's double the work. So I think to end it with that, my points have been concluded, and I think we're both on the same page with failure and growth and success, which is why obviously we do the podcast together, because our mindsets line up a lot.
Yeah, failure is not a bad thing at all.
No.
And it's so cliche to say that, like, oh yeah, failure, you know. Everyone always says, oh, Thomas Edison, or people argue if it was Thomas Edison, but it's widely agreed.
Yeah.
You know, when you Google it, that it's Thomas Edison who invented the light bulb. But the classic story is that, you know, he finally got the light bulb right on the 1,000th try.
Yeah.
Imagine he tried 999 times
and failed
and thought, you know what,
that's it.
Now. And all he had to do was try one more time. Yeah. So,
I mean, even failing on a daily basis, like last week, I failed to make. I failed to get up at 8 o'clock.
But you woke up.
No. So that what I was just gonna say is, like, I failed to get up at 8 o'clock. one of the days, and I almost was late to work. Guess what I did? The next day, I set an alarm for an earlier time and I got up. So even from that, like I learned, because I failed, I learned and I improved, right? Like it's a constant, it's a daily, literally it's a daily thing that people are doing on a daily basis, and they don't realize that it's, because I think when people say these philosophical things, they think a big grand failure, but it's every day you can fail at something and get better at it the next day.
Yeah, it's like when I first started driving, I was using Waze, right? Following a sat nav, when you first start driving, it's quite hard, you know. It's sometimes it's hard to judge if like, do I go left there, or sometimes if there's two lefts that are close to each other, you might take the wrong one. Nowadays, it comes natural to me. Like I know, like yes, this left I need to take 100 feet, 200 feet. Like I know exactly, like roughly what distance that is.
Yeah.
So it's in my head now, but that was growth. That was failures and growth that I didn't even realize were happening. So you are right. I think sometimes we tend to look at it on a macroscopic scale, and people think, oh, failure is good. Okay, I'm going to lose my job, then I'm going to gamble all my money away so I can have a big failure so I can learn. No. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is like, say with our podcast, we put something out, people don't like it. Okay, what did they not like? What might they like? Put something out, they like it, it gets engagement. That's a cycle of failure and growth. Yeah. Not as in like something catastrophic has to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I think building your life on these little failures and growths, doing it a little bit at a time over years makes such a massive difference. I've been doing fitness for 9 years and I've literally just got the physique I wanted now. After 9 years of failing, of you know, having a good 6 month period and then not going for 3 months and something happens, or your diet goes out the window, or you know, X, Y, and Z, or you get an injury and then you have to you have to not go to the gym for like 2 weeks, and it's been such a long journey, but that's what, to be able to handle having this physique now, I can handle it properly. I've been in my own skin, in my own body for all this amount of time. I know exactly when I'm training too hard, when I could push myself further. I know exactly how much rest I need, how much recovery I need, how much protein I need to have, all these things.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I'm at that stage of inflation at the moment still. You know, body dysmorphia and all those things. Because when I was younger, I was so skinny. Well, we were both skinny. Now, bro, like you say it to me all the time, like my arms are massive. And like when I flex in the mirror, right? I've got massive dole, fam. Like I've got a good physique, but I look at myself and I think, wow, like I'm not there yet. But I forget to see the fact that I've succeeded in so many. I've literally, technically, I have my dream physique that I wanted back when I was 16. But I still look at like other people's physique and think, oh, I'm not there yet. So that's another thing I need to improve on, because I keep failing to see that I also to actually have the physique I've always wanted. I'm actually like, I used to hate my arms being skinny, but now my arms sometimes don't fit in some t-shirts. Like I just bought a t-shirt yesterday and my arms are like fitting that t-shirt. Before I used to have like, you know, the massive gap.
Yeah, it's be colliding.
Yeah. But the t-shirts I bought yesterday, like my arms are full on tight in there. So like, why am I not happy with that? It's something I need to improve on that again. But I'd like to hear from our BFs what they failed at. Doesn't have to be a macroscopic thing like you said earlier. It can be literally, I failed to brush my teeth yesterday. First of all, you're ganda, fam. Go brush your teeth every single day. Stinky breath. But let us know what you failed at, and let us know how you turned it around, if you have. Could be a simple thing of, I brush my teeth.
Do you know what? Let's do it right now. 5 things we failed at. Also, you didn't even list 5 things that you were successful for.
No, I did. So because
did
you? So when we were speaking about it, that's why I said like.
I failed because I forgot.
No, I failed because I already mentioned like a whole point. So I said, oops. I failed at speaking there. I said, why don't you continue with your 5? Because I've already mentioned loads of things.
Yeah, you know what? 5 things this week
that we failed at.
That we failed at. Okay, so. This week, I failed with going to the gym.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the gym for like 3 or 4 days now. There are reasons for that.
Yeah.
But Still a failure,
Failure is
nonetheless.
failure,
Yeah, and my diet the same. I've literally not tracked my eating, or like I've not been eating properly this whole week. I've been having Mackey's breakfast like every single day, you know. And what else? Sleep.
yeah.
I've not been getting much sleep
Yeah.
at all this week. I think these are all just normal people things, but
But it's still a failure. Like,
yeah,
These
the
these
podcast
oh.
we missed a week. Didn't
We missed a week.
we missed a week.
I was hoping no one would notice. We'll make up to that as well. We'll get 2 episodes out.
And
One last
another failure in general is that not being grateful enough. I don't think we say on the podcast that, oh, I'm grateful for my mom and blah 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 and all this, like, but are we actually though? We can say it, but there's a difference between actually being grateful. Like, have you told your mom that this week, that, oh, like, you're grateful for the sacrifices that she's made? And
I did yesterday, actually.
You know.
It was International Women's Day, so I did.
oh, so he did, but I haven't. That's a failure. So I haven't really like told.
But that's
told.
because so one of my failures, I'll go into my 5 as well while speaking about that, is I was
One
too,
failure is that trim, bro. What's going on with that?
that's not my failure. That's my barber failing, bro. It's gonna get rectified. It'll grow back in a week, so it'll get rectified. That's why we're not doing.
Bro's
the
got to
video
take 2 weeks off work now.
That's why I have hats.
Bro's finished.
So one of my failures is when we were moving, I said to you, like, I overanalyze too many things, and I overthink a lot of things. I'm in my head all the time when something happens. I don't get defeated by them. I still work through them, but it's that stress that I take on. So one of my failures was not living in the moment and just allowing it to take step by step. Which is why yesterday I took it step by step and realized, you know what, it's International Women's Day. Let me wish my mom and all the people around me. Another failure is similar to yours, actually. Like, my diet's been horrible. I would add to that. I don't want to just copy yours. I'll add to that and say I don't drink enough water daily. So that's a big one, because
That's going to be everyone. Well, not everyone.
Not everyone, but
most people.
Majority of people. But I need to drink a lot more water, because luckily my skin is pretty clear, but I have kind of broken out here and there. But that's because my diet's been horrible and I'm not drinking enough water. Another one of my failures was I also didn't go gym. I only went gym 3 times last week. One of which was in the park doing pull-ups, because I woke up it was the day I woke up too late and couldn't make it to the gym on time. I have failed to get my electricity bill set up properly. So I kind of half set it up, and then I couldn't call them every day because I was so busy at work. But it is a failure at the end of the day. I need to take time and set it up properly. So Monday, I'm rectifying it and I'm calling them and setting the rest of it up. And the last thing is probably I failed to manage my finances better. I think I mean, I say that, but as I was saying earlier, everything's paid for, right? I don't have money to like spend on silly things anymore. Like, I've spent it on like the things I needed it for. But I went yesterday and I bought a few clothes, because obviously my TikTok brand, my personal brand, is my fashion page on OMG Harman. Follow me. Just plugging myself there. But because of that, I tend to now want to purchase more things like clothes. But it's like a half failure, half success, because I bought the things that I had planned to buy for 2 months now. So I bought with intent, but I still bought them. I spent the money in it. So like, I could have saved that money and not been poor.
What would you have done with that money anyway? You would have spent it, yeah, at some point.
I would have spent it on clothes, to be fair.
Doesn't really
but
matter.
It's that like it's the start of the month that I've spent it on. I could have waited till the end of the month and not been stressed. So let's hear it from our BFs, what they've struggled at, what they've failed at, and what they're continuing to grow at, and any successes they have. I know that one guy in the comments will have failed at everything and also succeeded at everything.
Yeah.
So
Bro failed at not succeeding. And
I
that's his failure in
I
the comments. His one failure is that he's never failed.
I've succeeded at not failing. So, thank you guys for listening. This has been Rav and Harman, your lovely hosts for 2BFT every single Saturday. And we will catch you in the next episode, which will be from a sneak peek of India and England both mixed together. You'll have a brown person in both worlds. So like how Rav says,
Actual 2BFT.
Actual 2BFT, yeah. So you'll get a perspective of India very soon as well.
Stay tuned for that, guys. Take care. 2BFT.
2BFT.